All right, are we live, everyone? Welcome, everyone, to the ARCA Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Colby Evans, aka Start Park Car here. We are going to be going over this past weekend's combo weekend of the East Series in the main division at Dover, and we'll preview this weekend's combo East and main division race. Actually, we're not going to have just one, but I believe three in a row. We will have Dover this past weekend, IRP this next weekend, and Iowa the weekend after that. So we'll have three straight ARCA combo weekend races to talk about, so that's going to be fun. Obviously, its own animal. We talked about it last week. The high tire loads did come into factor. We had the huge crash with the 18 car. We'll talk about all that as well. Huge field for IRP. It actually looks like we will have a DNQ, which is pretty astonishing, especially for just ARCA nowadays. Even outside of Daytona, to have a DNQ is quite something. We'll talk about that as well. And of course, how the championship is going. You know, now that we're halfway pretty much through all of the ARCA division seasons, who's the favorites for the championship? What's the season going to look like? What's the rest of the year going to look like? And all that good stuff. So, you guys know the drill. Follow me on social media at Start Parker on Twitter for all news, notes, and tweets about anything. I don't know why you guys enjoy my tweeting so much, but you do, and I appreciate it so much. We just passed 6,800 followers, so I'd love to get to 7,000 followers by the end of the year. So if you like what you see here, go follow me there on Twitter, or X. I still call it Twitter, even though it's called X. Like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on that bell for notifications so you guys never miss a podcast when I go live. And also hit the like button. Helps the video and the algorithms. Super chats are open if you'd like to support the show financially. If one gets sent in, we'll read it off. And any questions or notes in that. And of course, check out the Racing Experts for all NASCAR media-related content, the official media partner of this podcast. So, get right into it here. ARCA at Dover. Now, obviously, the ARCA Menard Series at Dover, it used to be an East Division only race, and thankfully, starting last year in 2024, they made the brilliant decision of making it a main series combo event. Because, man, you know, those East Series standalone races were getting really hard to watch. I mean, only 14, 15 cars would show up, maybe 16, and you only had about 6 or 7 that were remotely competitive. It was definitely, a good idea to bring the main division, bring some more cars here. And yes, people in the chat, as you can see, actually we'll get back to Dover in a second. I don't actually own, unfortunately, I don't own any Ozzy Osbourne shirts. We unfortunately lost, in my opinion, the greatest metal singer, metal band of all time. Ozzy Osbourne passed away at 76. My personal favorite musician, singer, behind Kiss, you know, or Kiss in second place. You know, Ozzy was a legend. My personal favorite song of his was Mama, I'm Coming Home. It hurts. My whole family were big Ozzy fans. We loved his TV show. You know, even though I was born when it was on, you know, I came to watch the show on reruns and through DVDs. He was a legend. He was a pure legend, and I'm not afraid to admit I cried. I cried during Ozzy's last show a few weeks ago, just because it tugged at the heartstrings, man, and to see him, you know, gone only a few weeks later, it hurts. It hurts a lot. I will get some shirts eventually. You know, like I said, money's just a little tight right now. Obviously, we're trying to get some other stuff done, but trust me, I've got some Ozzy tribute merch coming later on. But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out. The Prince of Darkness is no longer with us, but he'll never be forgotten. And rest in peace to Ozzy Osbourne. It's just going to be hard. I listen to him all the time. So, yeah, I just wanted to address that in the chat. But yeah, going back to Dover, obviously. You know, they made the brilliant decision to bring the main division with the East Division, and the car count improved, and man, that helped a lot. That really helped a lot with the racing, the quality of the racing. Hunter Zillich won last year's race. And, you know, I was kind of expecting maybe a similar field size this year, and we kind of got that. 25 cars were on the original entry list. We had the 31 car of Rise Withdrawal. It's kind of interesting development right there. Rise Withdrawing, they are a full-time car, so I'm not sure if ARCA is going to give them a break. Sometimes they give breaks. I think they gave one to Brad last year when he missed Dover. But I wonder if the 31 will get a break for their Golden A plan. They are back again this weekend, I presume. I presume they're going to run the rest of the year. Oh, look at that. We got Cody Dennison in the chat, everyone. He's going to be driving in this weekend's ARCA race. We'll get to him when we talk about our preview show for IRP. But yeah, so 24 cars. Not a bad field size for Dover. And actually, we got Cody in the chat. The one thing we were going to talk about with Dover is the closing rates. These ARCA cars absolutely haul ass around Dover with the way that they can be skewed and set up. And, Cody, if you're watching, could you tell us, you were in the 06 last year. What were those closing rates like in a car that's, a little bit underpowered? Because Cody was driving for Peterson last year. And as we know, Peterson has the legacy engines that do get the horsepower restriction. And then, like I said, for not just him, but Brad, Club's 86 car, and some of the fast track guys, it's just the closing rates, man, it's just surprising. And then, like the guys in the legacy cars, they're going as fast as they can. It's just, like I said, it's the horsepower disadvantage, Like I said, you had a couple of oddball entries. You had Camden Murphy in the 70. Great to see him back after doing a lot of his monster truck stuff. You had the East guys of Isaac Kitzmiller and Tyler Reif there. Andrew Patterson was back again. Austin Vaughn as well. Takuma Koga, Ryan Roulette. Corey Aiken was in the 86 this week. You had Brent Cruz in the 18 again. Timmy Hill was back again for the first time since Rockingham. That was good to see as well. Zachary Tinkle back again. He's one of the East regulars. So like I said, a new hefty field of faces and drivers. But who was going to beat the 28 and the 18? That was just kind of the common question, you ask yourself every week. Obviously, those are the two cars that arguably have the most funding behind them. And the fact it also doesn't hurt the fact that they have drivers in them who have natural raw talent. Both Brent Cruz, you can make the argument, both Brent Cruz and Butterbean Queen, not only are they driving arguably the two best cars in the field, but both of them have natural raw talent too. So you mix that together, it's not shocking that they, were obviously just absolutely hauling ass in this race. I mean, they were over 15 seconds ahead of third place at one point. Yeah, and Cody says in the chat, the closing rate, he was basically doing the best he could. And then he was. I mean, we saw last year, Cody was doing the best he could, but there were a couple of instances last year where, they were just coming up on him so fast, you don't have time to react. And, and that's consistent with what Brayton Laster was telling me, too. He was in the 06 this year, talking to Brayton in a Discord chat. The closing rate is so quickly with some of these legacy motor cars and some of the slower cars in general that, your spotter, you can't really set you up. And you kind of got to go off of it in your mirrors. And, unfortunately, sometimes that's how accidents happen, but it's how a lot of close calls happen. And that's just kind of one thing we've dealt with here. At Dover in these ARCA races. 2 years just can't really help it. It's just these underpowered cars are doing the best they can, but then you have these cars who aren't underpowered at the front of the field who are going as fast as they can. It's just a bad combination sometimes. But Brendan Queen, obviously, we knew he was going to be tough to beat. He won. He won the pole and obviously the road. I mean, we already know that. But yeah, I mean, these guys were absolutely hauling a 22.87 in practice. I mean, that is literally on the levels of the Cup cars on what they ran last year, just to put that into perspective. And they're going faster than the Xfinity cars, too. I should mention that. The ARCA cars go faster at Dover than the Xfinity cars do. So I think that's even funnier. But yeah, still, like I said, 24 cars, not a bad field size. I knew we'd have a few starting parks from Fast Track. Brad wants to run as much as he can at a track like Dover, but, obviously tires, can get eaten up pretty good at Dover and just not overly quick, even though they brought good Rusty this weekend, which has the Yates motor. So yeah, we'll get into the race, Dover race here. The top five to start off the race, We had Brendan Butterbean Queen on the pole, Brent Cruz in second, Lawless Allen third, Jake Finch fourth, and fifth was LeVar Scott. So the race started, and right out of the gate, we knew, like I said, coming into it, that the 28 and the 18 were going to be tough to beat. But could a guy like Lawless Allen get up there and maybe challenge for the win? Could, maybe Jake Finch, who has won here in an East Division race. Jake Finch won the East Division race, I believe, in 2023. I want to say 2022, 2023. So, could he step up and win? Jake was also running the Xfinity race for Hendrick. Or could we see Camden Murphy step up in the Nitro car? Or Timmy Hill pull off an underdog miracle, having the most experience in the field at Dover by far. So again, a lot of possibilities coming here. But real quick, we got an idea of what we were up against, and that was, the 28 and the 18 absolutely checking out from the field. And like I said, third place, Lawless, Isabella, and, Jake, they were going. I mean, they were pushing as hard as they can. And yet the 28 and the 18 were just consistently 2 to 3 tenths, 4 tenths, sometimes half a second, depending on the lap, because sometimes with lap traffic, quicker than the leaders. Just really impressive lap times, and with how far ahead they were. Unfortunately for LeVar Scott, his race was pretty much over before it started. His car was wicked loose, absolutely wicked loose. And, his team was telling him, just try to hang on to the first break. Try to hang on. And the car was literally just wrecking loose. You could literally see him off the corners. I mean, he did a hell of a job saving that car. And unfortunately, just couldn't take it anymore. Had to come down pit road and, fix the little bit of damage they had and replace the right rear tire. Didn't hit the wall or anything. He just had to replace the tire, and they lost so many laps under green. That, his race was over before it started. He was just now trying to climb back through some of the lap cars and maybe some attrition to claw back any kind of finish he could. And then, we also had Lawless Allen. Same thing, too. He actually, I believe, did hit the wall. Also due to tire issues. I think he was also having tire issues, so he had to pit under green, and he lost a conservative amount of laps. So, early in the race, Brendan Queen's, title contenders, they're having massive problems. And the 28 car's not, 100% itself. Slowly but surely, as this race had went on, the 28 started to develop an issue that was just affecting that handling a little bit, allowing the back part of the field to catch up. But we'll get to that in a second. Literally right after both the 6 and the 20 had pitted, we had arguably the second biggest moment of the race. We'll get to the first one a little bit later. But the second biggest moment of the race, when in a rare crash, the 18 car, like I said, the unbeatable 18 car for Joe Gibbs Racing, an awful hit to the turn 4 wall. Brent Cruz blew a right front tire, and man, he absolutely obliterated the wall. And the car was on fire, burned for quite a while. I mean, it's like the fire crews were definitely taking their sweet time, it felt like, getting there. But just an awful right front hit. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if JGR writes that car off or tries to sell it. I mean, it was tore up, and it burnt up quite a bit, too. But thankfully, Brent was okay. Probably got some smoke inhalation a little bit, so you could tell he was definitely coughing a little bit. But thankfully he's okay. But yeah, I mean, looking at post-race pictures, I don't think JGR is going to try to salvage that one. I think they're either going to ride it off, send it to the crusher, or chop the front clip off and see if anybody wants to buy it. I don't know. So, like I said, if there's one team in the garage that can afford an accident like that, it is the JGR team, but I'm sure they don't want to have to deal with it. But they're probably one of the few teams in the ARCA garage where it's going to set them back, but it's not going to hurt them. It's not going to hurt them terribly. It's just, yeah, if there's one team in the garage that can probably afford that, it is the 18. But it still sucks nonetheless. But just glad Brent's okay. And it kind of opened up more of the race because by the time of that crash, the 18 and the 20 were literally, I think, almost 15 to 18 seconds ahead of third place. I mean, they were just setting a ridiculous pace. By that point in the race, we had lost the 3 starting parks. Tony Cosentino, Blaine Donahue, and Matt Kemp did a starting park job for Fast Track. Brad had been on and off pit road, again, just dealing with tires. The right front was just cording, even at the pace that he was going. So at that point, we were down to, I believe, around 20 cars on the restart. And, once, like I said, once those lappers kind of find more of their footing, they were able to get a little bit more spread out, a little bit more out of the way. So, yeah, like I said, came back to green. And as quickly as we went, and that, I believe, did that count for the halfway break? I think that counted for the halfway break. I'm trying to look through my notes here because I do believe there were 2 breaks for this race. But yeah, they went back to green, and like I said, the 28 was just in a league of his own. Absolutely in a league of his own. We did see, though, that the 70 car of Camden Murphy was clearly a very competitive car. And really impressive, too. Camden did drive a few races in the 2010s. Actually drove some Xfinity races for Rick Ware. Drove some truck races for the Beaver operation. So he's made some NASCAR starts before. He just might not be a name that people are overly familiar with in the world because he hasn't been with the NASCAR circuit in quite a few years. He's made the on and off appearance here, but he's definitely been away for a while. But he's been on the Monster Jam circuit. I don't quite remember what Monster Jam truck he drives off the top of my head. But Camden Murphy still does a lot of racing on the side. Just in the Monster Jam division. But great to have him back in the ARCA Menard Series division, that's for sure. So, and during this run, nobody could just catch the 18. Or not the 18, the 28. 28 was just rocking away some good lap times, but if you remember what I said earlier in the show, we did start to see some vulnerability out of the 28 car. He was not running the same lap times that he was before, and the 70 car, which by this point had made it to second place, Isabella, I believe, was third. Jake Finch was fourth, and I think Timmy Hill was running like fifth. Great run for Timmy Hill. But the 70 car was actually running down. As they were coming to the second scheduled break, the 70 car was actually running down the number 28. So, and then they actually reported on the broadcast that there was potentially something wrong with the 28 car, and you could see it. The 70 was clearly catching him. But then we had a near heart attack moment for me for the race, and arguably, I call this one of the more bigger incidents. Corey Aiken, I'm not really sure what happened to Corey Aiken. I've been told a few different reasons, so I'm not going to speculate myself. Either way, he ends up on the apron, spins out, hits the wall with the front nose, and you're talking milliseconds, or millimeters, I should say, from getting absolutely blasted by Zachary Tinkle. X Carter 96 in the chat. Can I get a shout out my teacher? Oh, I'm sorry about that. Well, I'm sorry about that to hear your teacher passed away. Sorry about that, man. Hope you're enjoying the show at least. But going back to what I was saying, yeah. And that's the car I'm driving at Iowa, the 86. When I saw that, I about had a heart attack. I'm not going to deny. When I saw the 11 car coming, I'm like, this is where it's going to end. Man, they did hit. It's not like they missed each other. They did collide for a brief moment. You can see some scratches on the 86's bumper, and a few decals on the number 11 car were peeled up. If there was another probably half a foot of impact, it probably would have been the end of the 86 car, and it would have probably been the end of the 11 car too. And that would have really sucked for both teams, because then my Iowa race would have been done, and unfortunately Andy Hillenberg would have lost one of his good intermediate short track cars. So, Yeah, thankfully, disaster was mostly averted right there. And I talked to Alex. And I talked to Alex uh, that a new front nose was gotten and installed. Nothing really serious happened with the car, so that's good. And yeah, I said thankfully for Zachary Tinkle because he was running in the top 10 at this point, so it would have ruined his good race as well. They had a quick 3-lap dash to the second break, I should say, and the 70 doesn't go on the restart. So Timmy Hill actually goes from fourth to second place, and you could really see, like, if Timmy Hill just had a little bit more in that car, because obviously Timmy just doesn't have the budget, to get his motors refreshed, and for fresh motors like the 28 and the 18 does. But you can definitely see if Timmy had the motor, probably that the 28 had, I don't doubt he would have won the race. Because you can definitely see on the attack in those first few laps, Timmy could hang with him. But then, after, get back up to speed, he just couldn't. Unfortunately, he couldn't hang with him after a few laps. But he was still able to stay in second place at the time of the break. So yeah, great publicity and great TV time for Timmy. Hopefully we can get a sponsor on that car. The car was mostly unsponsored outside of a few units logo. So I'd love to see Timmy get some primary sponsorship on that 56. But they did come to the second break of the day. Came back out after the break, and really, I'm going to say not much happened after that. The 28 got away on the restart. Timmy, unfortunately, fell back to 6th, so I'm not sure if they made a bad adjustment or what. The 70 did struggle. He fell back through the field a little bit on the restart. Really was the only contender that could hang with the 28 car, but he had to use whatever good in his car was to just get back to second place, and by then it was too little too late. The 28, Brendan Queen, leads every single lap, wins the race by 7 seconds, so again, a pretty decent winning margin there for him. Camden Murphy, still a great performance for him regardless, in second place. Isabella Robusto third. Isaac Kitzmiller, he had a pretty underrated day too. Didn't talk about him much, but he was just kind of in the 6th to 7th range. Managed to stay on the lead lap and actually got himself a solid top 5 finish. Tyler Rye 5th, and then Timmy Hill 6th, and Jake Finch. Not sure what happened to Jake Finch in that last run. Just wasn't really all that competitive in that last run. Down to 7th. Jason Kitzmiller 8th. Zachary Tinkle, very solid top 10 finish in 9th, and Andrew Patterson rounds up the top 10 in 10th. LeVar Scott and Lawless Allen, like I said, with their tire issues, ended up 11th and 12th. Michael Maples 13th, Austin Vaughn 14th, Takuma Koga 15th, Brayton Laster 16th. Ryan Roulette had an engine issue late in the race, left him 17th. Alex Clubb, in his own words, Alex Clubb said he sucked at Dover. Those were his own words. You can look it up on his Facebook page. But yeah, and that's what he texted me. He said, I just sucked at Dover. So it was a long race for him. He ended up 18th. And like I said, Aiken 19th, Brad 20th, Cruz 21st, Cosentino 22nd, Donahue 23rd, and Kemp 24th. So, like I said, middle of the road race. I said wouldn't call it good, wouldn't call it bad. Just middle of the road. I think you can just go 5 out of 10. We'll just say middle of the road. So 1 out of 10, we'll just say 5 out of 10. Obviously, one car leading all 150 laps and not really getting challenged for the lead definitely brings the score down. But I still thought there was a lot of, obviously, the big crashes and the near miss, add to the fun. And then the good battling we had in the middle part of the field helps a little bit, but you got to be honest. You got to be honest, with yourself and just say, I think a fair score is 5 out of 10. I think we can agree. Wasn't great. I don't think it was overly good, but it wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible. It was serviceable. 5 out of 10, maybe a 6 if you want to be generous. But you got to be fair. It wasn't great, wasn't bad, right in the middle, 5 or 6. So, point standings coming out of this race. We'll start off with East. Great job by Isaac Kitzmiller to finish ahead of his two main rivals right now. Extends his points lead to 7 points over Tyler Reif. And, even though we kind of rule him out, we're still going to throw Zachary Tinkle in there, man. He's only 15 points out. If pending big something happens at these next 3 races, IRP, Iowa, and Bristol, he's still in it. And, man, the celebration that if he could somehow win the championship, that'd be something. But, yeah, so right now those 3 are your logistical E-Series championship contenders. Only 6 full-time guys, Takuma Koga, Austin Vaughn, and Brad Smith, are not in contention for the championship, but that's more than likely they will stay in those positions. The Owners' Championship right now in the East Division, due to the crash, the number 18 car did take a hit, but they still lead by 18 points over the 79 car. And the 23 is third, and the 11 is fourth, and the 12 car is fifth. So that is your Owners' Championship battle for the East Division. And then in the main division points, Brendan Butterbean Queen obviously extends his points lead. You could almost say a few more races like this with issues, and he might lock up the championship. He now has a 26-point lead over Lawless Allen and a 33-point lead to LeVar Scott. And I gotta say, it's gonna be hard for both of those guys to claw that back. It really is. Like I said, a few more races. Like if Lawless Allen, if he can pull a gap to over 30 points with Lawless, I mean, at that point, I would say you almost got to give him the championship. Jason Kitzmiller, 4th on back to Robusto, and then Club and Maples and Lester, just too far behind for the championship, unfortunately. Your Owners' Championship right now, again, with the 18 having that big crash, they took a big hit in the Owners' points. And we have a change in the Owners' standings. The number 28 car is now in front by a hefty margin. Well, hefty margin for ARCA standards. 15 points ahead of the 18 car in the Owners' standings. The Venturini 20 car is third. The Venturini 25 car is fourth. And the Siegel 6 entry is fifth. So that is your Owners' Championship battle right now for the main ARCA division. Looks like, again, it's going to be a battle between the 28 and the 18. But it's going to be very important that the 18 climbs back there. Obviously, the Owners' Championship is the only real championship in ARCA that pays. So that's the championship that the 18 car really, wants to go after in both series. Now that we have covered those, we are going to transition to the Launa 150 at Lucas Oil Raceway Park, or as I like to call it, Indianapolis Raceway Park, or formerly called O'Reilly Raceway Park. It is the cute little short track just outside of Indianapolis in Brownsburg, Indiana, literally only about 4 or 5 miles away from the big track itself. I love going there. The few times I've been to that track have been nothing but fun. Absolutely nothing but fun. Had just a great time, great people, great atmosphere, tire wear. One of the rare short tracks where the high line of the short track is actually more competitive than the bottom groove. Very, very unique short track. And the ARCA series runs there. The Truck series runs there. In all honesty, if we're talking, the Xfinity series should run there. They should not be at Indianapolis. That should be reserved for Cup only, and Xfinity should be running at IRP. Today's Xfinity cars at IRP would be a show. That would be a damn show. So, yeah. So, like I said, this has been a combo race now for a few years. Started in 2023. ARCA series has been coming here regularly since kind of on and off in the 2010s. Started off again in 2022. 2021 we were not here, and in 2013 we were not here. But yeah, the IRP has been a pretty consistent part of the ARCA Menard series schedule for the last 15 years. Um, but like I said, the one thing that has been very abundant about this year with the ARCA Menard Series is its car counts going up. And I'm proud to say that once again, we are up into the car counts. We actually have a DNQ. Yes, I am not lying to you folks. We have a DNQ for an ARCA race, not a Daytona or Talladega too. 35 cars are on the entry list for this weekend's Liona 150 ARCA race. And I got to say, that's pretty cool for the ARCA Menard Series to be able to draw that many cars for a Midwest race. That's really impressive for the series. Last year we had 31, and think about that. In 2023, we had just 25. So think about that. In just 2 years, we have gotten 10 extra cars. That is huge for the ARCA Menard Series. Absolutely huge. Now, bear with me. This is a really long entry list now. And before we go over the entry list, I also want to make a point that the race has actually been shortened. A move that I am personally not in favor of. But this ARCA race used to be 200 laps. Now, the ARCA race is 150 laps. Now, the only reason why I can think they did that is because last year's ARCA race ran long with some of the cautions, because there were many, many cautions in the race, including, I believe, a brief red flag, and it carried over into the scheduling conflicts with the truck race, because the ARCA race and the truck race run on the same night. So I believe that was a reason why. The truck race had to start late, and obviously with TV and broadcasting times, everything's got to start on time. So I wonder if that's why the ARCA Menard Series shortened it up by 50 laps, which again, I don't like. I think if you really want these kids to learn, they have to have more on-track time. We can't keep shortening these races. If that's the case, then we need to start the ARCA race earlier, so that way we can accommodate those extra 50 laps. But yeah, wanted to address that. The race has been shortened by 50 laps. So we'll start it off. Whew. All right, bear with me, folks. We're going to go through this whole thing. We're going to start off with the number 2 of Laney Buse in the 2, Michael Clayton in the 5, LeVar Scott in the 6, Candence Davenport in the 7 for Caudell, Cody Dennison returns to the ARCA Menard Series in the 9 for Hillenberg, Tony Cosentino in the 10. He is actually running one of his old Cosentino Ford cars, so that's awesome. Zachary Tinkle, of course, in the 11, Takuma Koga in the 12, Brent Cruz in the 18, Lawless Allen in the 20, Tyler Reif in the 23. Great to see Mason Mitchell in the 25 back out there again. Brendan Queen in the 28, Quinn Davis in the 31, Austin Vaughn in the 34, Andrew Patterson in the 40. Thad Moffitt returns. Again, remember, they made it clear in his post he was not done with Nitro Motorsports, but simply was going back to a part-time schedule. If you remember, that's what Thad Moffitt posted in that article when they announced that he was no longer running full-time for Nitro, that he was just simply going back to a part-time schedule. He wasn't done with the team. So, Thad Moffitt returns to Nitro Motorsports. Brad Smith in the 48, Isabella Robusto in the 55, Indiana native Presley Sora. You might know him, the iRacing star. He returns to IRP in the 67 for Michael Maples. Regina Servant, the Mexico Series driver, she returns in the 68 for Kimmel. And Brian Finney, we have not seen him in a long time. He was an East Series regular. He'll be in the 69 for Kimmel. Sam Corey in the 70. I admit I have no idea who that is. Road racer guy, maybe? I admit I have no idea who that guy is. So if somebody in the chat could tell me who Sam Corey is, I would love to know. Sounds like a good guy. I mean, if he's driving for Nitro Motorsports, the guy's clearly got talent, but I'm just not familiar with that guy at all. So if someone in the chat could tell me, I'll talk about him. Trans Am. Okay, so he's a road course guy. All right, thank you. Yes. All right, so I should have figured because Nitro runs in Trans Am. Isaac Kitzmiller in the 79. A second Pinnacle car. We have Connor Mosack in the 82. Obviously, to get some extra track time. And, he's in the ARCA truck race later that night. Becca Monopoly in the 85. Doug Miller, he's making his debut in the 86. Hunter Wright in the 95. Jackson McLaren in the 96. So both MAN Motorsports cars are in the field. Jason Kitchmill in the 97. Mike Basham in the 98 for Dale Shear. Now that's pretty cool. You don't usually see anybody else drive Dale's stuff. Michael Maples in the 99. The 01 is blank, but I was told that that'll be Matt Kemp. Just hasn't been updated yet. Alex Clubb in the 03, and another Indiana native. I guess actually Mike Basham's also an Indiana native, but also add in Brayton Laster, the other entry in the 06. Whew. That's a lot to get through. So, yes, 35 cars for 34 spots. Now, obviously, how ARCA does it compared to NASCAR and the Xfinity Series, it's not just simply, a certain amount of cars make it on speed, and then it's all provisionals. The way that ARCA does their provisional system is it can be a little confusing. I'm not 1,000% sure. Not 1,000% sure what, how the provisional system works off the top of my head. I know David Pequeen on his Twitter account posted a detailed graphic. I wished I would have saved that for you so I could explain it to you. But realistically, in terms of how the points work and the owner points work, I was kind of told that right now the most likely DNQs just based off of owner points and stuff would be either the 98 or the 5. That's kind of what I was able to retrieve from that. If qualifying does rain out, the 5 car goes. I still think personally that 1 car will withdraw. A lot of these guys probably won't show up at the threat of some of these guys wouldn't show up at the threat of a DNQ if they didn't think they were locked in. So, maybe they'll all show up, but I could still see 1 car withdrawing. We'll see, but, just to see ARCA bringing this many cars to, like I said, a Midwestern track like we said a little bit ago, is just really impressive because a lot of these Midwest ARCA races are the races that actually struggle the most with their car counts. But yeah, and IRP is, like I said, it's its own animal in terms of, crashes. Like I said, a lot of crashes in last year's race. Let's see here. How many crashes were there again? Yeah. 7 cautions, 6 for crashes, a lot of torn up stuff last year. And you got to think, we're going to have 34 cars, a full field. So, I expect mayhem. Not going to lie. I do expect some mayhem. As for the DNQ, I really don't know. You don't really know what some of these cars really have until it's time to make the race. So, I'm just going to not say a DNQ pick, and whoever goes home is whoever goes home. Personally, like I said, you don't really know what these cars have. We don't really know what the 98's made out of. Mike Basham's a hell of a driver. I think he could probably get a lot more out of that car than Dale. And that's nothing against Dale Shear, but, Mike Basham can get a lot more out of a car than maybe it really has in it. So I'd love to see what the 98's really capable of. And again, that's not a knock against Dale. I love Dale, but Basham is just such an underrated driver when it comes to the backmarker stuff. But in terms of a race winner, I'm actually going to go with my fellow Iowa boy. I'm going to go with Mason Mitchell as a race winner's pick. And as an underdog pick, for an underdog pick, stick me down for, looking at this entry list, scrolling up and down, I know he's not really an underdog because he's still competitive, but I'll go with Tyler Reif. So I'll go with Mason Mitchell as my winner's pick and Tyler Reif as my underdog. So, yeah, those will be my choices. Great to see, like I said, a lot of Iowa drivers in this field. Obviously, there'll be a lot more Iowa drivers in next week's field because I will be in that one. Yes. I'm hoping my 86 car survives. So Doug, Doug Miller, if you're watching this podcast, take good care of it, please, because I'm just really excited to be able to be in my first ARCA race next week. You guys don't know how nervous I am at the same time. Believe me, I am nervous, but at the same time, I'm also really excited. But yeah, this race goes live on, I believe it is on FS1. Trying to find the event schedule here. Sometimes I get a little bit lost. All right, yep, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. So it does start a little bit early. It does start a little bit early, but again, that's obviously to accommodate the truck series, which is running later that night. By the way, everyone in the chat or everyone watching, give a shout. Good luck to Cody Dennison. He'll be running in both races. We have a few drivers doing both of them. Connor Mosek, Cody Dennison, and I know there was one more. There's one more driver I feel like that was doing both. I remember it off the top of my head. Crap, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I think there's 3 people doing the double. So, but yeah, good luck to Cody and good luck to, crap, I can't remember the other one. Butter, yes, Butter. Thank you, Cody. Yes, Butterbean's driving the Spire truck. Brent's driving too? No. Man, I can't get this right. Yes, it starts a little early, mainly just due to the truck race running later that night. Like I said, on FS1, so at 4:30, it's a little early, so some people might miss it, but you'll probably catch the end of it, people getting home around probably 5:30. Like I said, hopefully it's a good race for the fans, get some more action for the championship, and we'll see if Lawless or LeVar can close in on the championship hunt. Like I said, good luck to the people running the double. And yeah, hopefully Doug does a good job with the 86, and we'll do an ARCA Racing podcast next week, probably a Monday or Tuesday. Get it out of the way early, so that way we can prep for Iowa. And next week's podcast, guys, is gonna be really fun, just because it'll be a very special podcast. I'll probably just talk most about myself, not gonna lie. Probably talk mostly about myself, about the next week's podcast and how excited I am. I'm not going to lie, but yeah. So I wish I was in Indianapolis this year. Was there last year. Had a great time, but unfortunately with the scheduling conflicts with Iowa and Indy back-to-back, I just couldn't go. Otherwise, I would be in Indianapolis right now, guys. Trust me, I would. But yeah. Hopefully everybody has a great time in Indianapolis. Hopefully all the races are fun, not just the ARCA race. All 4 races are fun. And we'll look forward to Iowa next weekend. So, like I said, thank you guys for joining me on tonight's podcast. Like I said, if you love what you see here, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, go follow me on X at Colby Evans, or at Start and Park Car under the name Colby Evans. And I'm trying to sell stuff, trust me. Sponsorship game's really tough. When you're a rookie in this business, the one thing that, they will not tell rookies in this business, without the proper connections, trying to find sponsorship in the racing business is not easy. 100% not easy. And I'm learning that the hard way, but I'm trying my best here. So, thank you all for watching. Give you all the goodbye salute. And, yeah, we'll see you all in next week's show. Sorry, Ben. I know you say greetings, but we're just ending the show. So, be here a little earlier next time. So, thank you all for watching. Bye-bye. I'm Colby Evans, signing off.